Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Greg DeSell from Markertek. Thank you for joining us for another of Markertek's webinar series, as today we welcome our partners from Electro-Voice Dynacord and RTS. We've set aside 45 minutes for today's presentation and 15 minutes at the end for a Q&A session. Please take note of the Q&A section of your Zoom control panel. We welcome your questions and we're going to do our best to answer them either during the presentation or post-presentation. And of course, if you're experiencing any technical difficulties with audio or video, please alert us in the chat section. We're excited to introduce several solutions from Electro-Voice, Dynacord, and RTS that, when paired together, create the ideal balance of sophisticated sound performance and production communication, yet deliver simple operation. And here to take us through the details are Zach Sweedler, Greg Campagnon, and Robert Ferguson. Between them, they have about 60 years of experience in audio installations designed to achieve superior audio quality. Welcome, gentlemen, and thanks for joining us today. If you could take it away and please introduce yourselves.
Yes, thanks, Greg. Appreciate you guys having us today, and thanks to everybody for joining us. We're very excited to take you through our House of Worship solutions via our Electro-Voice and Dynacord professional audio lines, as well as our RTS intercoms. So just to get started, we'll just do some quick introductions. My name is Zachary Sweedler. I am the district sales manager for upstate New York and New England. I've been in this current role for a couple of years now, but I've been with Bosch for over 5 years. Started in pre-sales and then in inside sales, but I've been a musician all my life. I've worked in music retail. I've also spent some time as a sound tech. So very, very passionate about this industry, and I very much enjoy working with the team at Markertek. Up next, we have Robert Ferguson, who is our marketing manager for North America, who specializes in our professional and commercial audio products. He's well-versed in audio system design, sales, and installation. He's been with the company, I believe, for around eight years now or so, and he has a degree in music performance, audio engineering, and business. And then we also have Greg Campagnon on the call with us, who is our sales director. And he has been with us since 2006 and is well-versed in all of the Bosch communication products, Electro-Voice, Bosch, Telex, and RTS. And he recently, a couple of years ago, started handling RTS intercom sales specifically. So he will be discussing those products today. So one thing that we typically like to point out, in our presentation, especially when we're working with a customer base like House of Worship, who's so involved in giving back to their own communities, we like to point out that 92% since the 60s, 92% of the Bosch organization is owned by the charitable Robert Bosch Foundation. So our company is heavily involved in giving back to the community and being involved in endeavors in the social areas, healthcare, environment, stuff like that. So a lot of our customers feel really good about doing business with Bosch, and we always like to point that out, when we're showcasing our solutions. So when we look at our division, Bosch Building Technologies, we actually fall under the same division as our security system. So you can see all that that part of the portfolio on the left. Our video surveillance systems, our intrusion alarm, and that's where the audio kind of fits in terms of the public address portion of the security and safety. But when we look at our communications portfolio on its own, there's actually a lot of different stuff going on. There's 5 different brands. We have Bosch, which is our more public address and commercial audio systems, our conferencing systems. But today we're going to be mainly talking about Electro-Voice, which is our transducer-based product line, so loudspeakers and microphones. We'll be talking about Dynacord, which is our electronics, so amplifiers and digital signal processors. And then we'll be getting into RTS intercoms for the more behind-the-scenes critical communication applications. So to start off, we're going to start at the beginning of the signal chain with our microphones. The Electro-Voice brand actually goes back over 90 years, back to 1927. And for all this time, we have been a microphone manufacturer. So we have a number of different options for just about any application when it comes to wired or wireless. The slide you're seeing right now is our wired solutions. At the top, we have our P-polar choice mics, our conference and boundary mics. So anything for like podium, desktop, or something for a stage. We have our broadcast and vocal mics. Down from there, some of you may recognize our RE20 or RE320, some of the most popular microphones being used in the broadcast realm today. You can actually see Greg there is speaking through an RE320 with us today. And then we have our vocal and instrument mics. Some of you may be familiar with our old N-Dime series microphones, which we replaced with our new ND series a few years ago. And that includes a full line of both vocal and instrument microphones. And then from there, we also have, like I mentioned, our wireless portfolio. So we have our entry-level R300 series, which is really great for those applications with maybe a little bit more budgetary constraints. It's a very cost-effective wireless system that works really well. But a couple of years ago, we did come out with our all-new flagship series, the RE3 series, which includes a much more diverse offering in terms of handheld options. So many different capsules, anything from your basic dynamic cardioid mic all the way up to, your condenser super cardioid style vocal mic, and then a bunch of different options in terms of body packs and lavalier mics as well. So from there, I'm going to pass it over to Rob, who's going to jump into our Electro-Voice loudspeakers.
Thanks, Zach, and thanks everyone for joining. So Zach kind of already took us through some of the EV microphones. Certainly, that's where Electro-Voice got its start back in 1927. But as you can imagine, obviously, EV is well known for their transducer accomplishments over the years, but certainly very well known for the loudspeaker realm as well. So microphones and loudspeakers are both under the EV brand, and you're probably familiar with EV. It's been around for quite a long time and is very popular in the loudspeaker space. So first, I'm going to talk about some of the foreground loudspeakers that are available through Electro-Voice, and there are a lot of options that are available, when you take a look at the EV line. And certainly there are plenty of portable options where EV is definitely certainly a leader. But on the install side, there are quite a lot of options. So today I'm first going to start to focus on our EV innovation portfolio, or what we call EV innovation. And this is really our fixed install integrator series. There's quite a wide range of options available, and they are designed to be mixed and matched together. It's pretty frequent that you'll actually find a combination of these products within the same venue as well. So for a house of worship, you might find that you'll have a combination of main loudspeakers as well as fills, which I'll talk about in just a moment. But the series does feature a wide variety of options in terms of horn patterns, footprint sizes, and then of course different coverage patterns, so that we're ensuring that we get the best intelligibility and music reproduction throughout the entire venue when required. So this whole series comes with rotatable waveguides, multiple coverage patterns, as well as the ability to get these in different finishes. So you can get them in black or white, and then for applications where we're out in an outdoor environment, there are also weatherized options if you ever run across that. So here's a quick snapshot of the overall portfolio. Up there at the top, we have EVU, or our ultra compact point source loudspeaker. So it comes in a 6.5 inch all the way up to a dual 8 inch. And it does come with a integrated U bracket. So this is most commonly used as like an under balcony fill, a front fill, and a lot of times for distributed audio as well. So there is a transformer kit you can use. Some people prefer the footprint, and we'll use this, instead of using something like an EVID, an Electro-Voice EVID, which I'll talk about here in just a moment. But it's often used in tandem with maybe some of these other loudspeakers here, as kind of a fill. So sonically, they are tuned to be mixed and matched together in a venue. So EVC would be the step above that, probably the newest addition to the line. It's that C stands for compact install. So a little bit different form factor than the EVF, and I kind of think of it as EVF Junior, which has been around for quite a while. So it does come in an 8 inch, which wasn't previously available, a 12 inch, a 15 inch, and then there at the end you see the EVC variable intensity loudspeaker. It's a very unique loudspeaker. It looks a little funky, but it actually has a very unique waveguide on it that gives you the ability to cover a rectangular space with limited variation in decibel level throughout a venue with just a single source. So we find for a lot of applications, especially even house of worship, that this is the applicable tool to use. And certainly it's a very unique tool that EV offers that other manufacturers do not have. So the step above that would be EVF, certainly been a staple for us and is very popular for house of worship. There are 12-inch and 15-inch woofer models available, and there are also two variations there. You can get the standard or the high definition model, which has some upgraded internal components. The enclosure itself is still the same size, but we often find that we like to give that flexibility there in case we're in a budget scenario and we just want to go with a standard model. But there are 6 different coverage patterns for the EVF line, which makes it very flexible depending on whatever the the sanctuary or the venue looks like. Really just making sure that we're not spilling outside and we're getting proper coverage throughout the entire venue. So we also have EVH, which is a part of the family here. It's our horn-loaded series. So if you're in a reverberant space, which we often find in house of worship, this might be more ideal with it being horn-loaded. It's a very natural-sounding horn-loaded device, right? So it doesn't sound honky, as some people like to say, with some horn-loaded loudspeakers that are out there. But it's not too uncommon to actually see EVH in combination with EVF in venues, and we do make horizontal and vertical array kits. So if maybe you're shooting at an upper balcony, you might be aiming the EVH up towards that. And want to make sure that it's a nice narrow coverage pattern, and then maybe an EVF underneath there to cover kind of the front area there, or the main sanctuary or main floor there. So, and of course we do have complementary subwoofers that you can use here. So, certainly if there's a live performance or we want some LF extension here based on the events that happen in the facility, we certainly encourage you to use those as well. So in addition to point source loudspeakers, which are most commonly used for small, medium, and some larger venues, especially considering that we have EVH, the horn-loaded loudspeaker on the line, which has the ability to shoot quite a distance there with some control. We also offer a pretty wide line of line array options, and certainly for some medium to larger house of worship venues, we find this is more applicable. So, and certainly, that performance might make sense depending on what the venue is, but it's certainly a tool that we have in our toolbox here. Certainly if that makes sense for the venue. So all of these options are compact, right? So we're trying to minimize sight lines, but at the same time, we don't want to compromise on audio quality. So I think we do a pretty good job here, and we do have quite a few options. So up here at the top, we have EVA, which is our passive dual 8-inch option here. It's used quite frequently in house of worship. Again, all of these options do come in black and white, and we find that white obviously is very common for house of worship, depending on what the venue looks like. But one of the nice things with EVA specifically out of all the arrays here is that all of the rigging's internal. So it actually looks very smooth. When we get a white system up in the air, it looks like a nice smooth white column, which is very aesthetically pleasing for a lot of venues, including house of worship. So another nice thing about EVA is it's rated at 16 ohms, which basically means that I have the ability to put several of these modules on one amplifier channel, and we do have attenuation modules to be able to do shading for the lower boxes for the front rows, whether that's 3, 6, or 9 dB. But it gives us the ability to really cut down on amplifier channels, which you find that you might need several for most line array systems, and it's kind of a very cost-effective way to get the performance you want out of kind of an entry-level line array. So that's what EVA is. It's a very popular system, and it's pretty unique out in the market. There's not too many other options out there at the same price point. So, and of course, there are complementary subwoofers, a 15-inch and a dual 15-inch, which is by far the most popular for LF extension. We also have XLE, which is our single 8-inch option. There's also a cardioid subwoofer, which you can pair. Certainly, you could use other subwoofers in our line, but it is designed to be arrayed together. We have XLD, pretty similar footprint, but it's a dual 8-inch, and it does have some unique horizontal coverage control technology down to 200 hertz. So it's very popular in a lot of venues, even outside of house of worship, stadiums, and those kinds of things. But that's certainly an option that's pretty popular in the house of worship market. We have XLC, our 3-way system, which has been on the market for quite a while. And then down at the bottom, we have our X-Line Advanced system, which is both X1 and X2. Which is definitely our flagship line array system and probably used for most of our larger house of worship venues. And then, of course, there are complementary subwoofers, including a dual 15-inch as well as a dual 18-inch. And we recently launched some install models here as well. So we have the ability, obviously, to get them in full fiberglass for outdoor applications, but we also have the ability to get the arrays in white now, which is very nice. So we talked a little bit about foreground audio. It's pretty common in a lot of worship venues, not all, but there are probably some adjacent areas that do need some commercial audio or something of that nature, depending on what the space is used for. Otherwise, maybe this is a cry room or another part outside of the main sanctuary. So there are a lot of options within the EVID range, the commercial audio range here, and you can see they come in black and white, different form factors. They're designed to blend into the environment as best as they can, while still achieving some pretty good audio quality here. So a lot of options to choose from, depending on the environment. And again, like the EV Innovation portfolio, these are designed to be mixed and matched. So depending on your environment, if you have drop tile ceiling, obviously you could use a ceiling loudspeaker. If it's fully open, you could use a pendant. Surface mount options are definitely really popular. And of course, we do have subwoofers as well. So just keep that in mind if there are some adjacent areas. We do have commercial audio as well as foreground audio. Then, of course, we talked a lot about, the transducer side of Electro-Voice. So I'll make a segue over to the electronic side of our business, so amplifiers and DSP. So certainly we're an expert in transducer technology, and we've been in the business for a long time. So adjacent to that, we highly encourage, if you're looking at an Electro-Voice system, to take a look at Dynacord as an option for amplification and DSP. Certainly we know our loudspeakers very well, and we do have dedicated loudspeaker presets and settings for the EV line. So I highly encourage you to do that. And for those of you who aren't aware of the Dynacord brand has been around for quite a long time, over 70 years, so almost as long as EV, and is headquartered in Straubing, Germany there. So definitely got that German engineering prowess there, and there's some of the best amplifiers on the market. And we've made a pretty impressive investment here. So if you're not familiar with some of the electronics here, they're definitely new, cutting edge, and we're leading the market in most of these segments here. So up here at the top, we have our C&L 2-channel amplifiers. So, pretty impressive feature set that are packed in these amplifiers at a pretty affordable price point. So chances are, if you're using something like an EVF, EVC, and even EVA, the line array system that I talked about, it's often paired with a C-series amplifier. Now, one of the nice things about these amplifiers is not only are they great stable amplifiers, but they also have professional level DSP at this price point, unlike other manufacturers out there who claim to have some level of DSP, which is really minor, 3 or 4 band EQ. With these amplifiers, we're able to load FIR presets specifically. So that's something to keep in mind there at a very cost-effective price point. Stepping into our multi-channel options would be IPX, step just above that, and these are Dante networks. So if we feel the need to, interoperate with either get the system on the network, or we have some transport on the network, or we're interacting maybe with a console or some other Dante equipment, this might be an option that you'd want to explore. Another nice thing about the IPX range is they're incredibly energy efficient. They utilize a technology called EcoRail, which significantly reduces the power consumption of the amplifiers. And we found on average that's about 50% or if not more. Certainly we're all concerned with being a little more eco-friendly here at Bosch, but also end users and venues alike are very concerned with being energy efficient. So that's something unique that IPX offers here. Of course, there's a whole bunch of technology packed into these, with these being our flagship amplifiers, but at the end of the day, they do provide some superior audio quality at full 96K. We do have the live versions of IPX, which we call TGX, definitely designed more for the live and touring market, but certainly applicable for some house of worship applications, specifically if you're looking for a mobile system, or if it's really a multi-purpose space that you're utilizing the system in and you want to roll the system in and out. We do make a turnkey system rack with power distro and switches. So something to keep in mind, we've built that into the cost of the amplifier, but no need to build your own rack when we make it for you. We've also introduced a new DSP system called MXE5 that's available now. So there will be a whole series of MXEs. We launched MXE5 last year. It's kind of the mid-tier, but certainly a needed component here. So for mixing, as well as any matrixing or system head control, that's what we're looking at for MXE5 here. And again, full 96K, just like the IPX amplifiers. And then, of course, we do have some software options for C&L. We have MARC, which stands for Multi-Amplifier Remote Control, which is available for C&L. Now with a new firmware update, we can actually get the C&L series in SonicQ, which is our newest sound system software. And it's quite intuitive. compared to maybe some of the predecessor softwares we've had available here. But certainly it provides a guided workflow. We've got lots of trainings online and YouTube videos, but when we first launched the software a couple of years ago, I found it quite easy to use. You move left to right, there's 3 main menus with relevant submenus, so you can really get your system operated, tuned, and fully functional quite quickly. And of course, there are some automated configuration checks. So if you forget to connect an amp channel to a loudspeaker or miss a step along the way, it'll point that out to you. So it's kind of, prevents any errors along the way. In addition to that, there are many, certainly at Bosch, we're kind of dedicated to playing with open standards and playing friendly with other manufacturers out there. But there are some proprietary systems out there that are popular, and one of which is QSYS. So we do have a dedicated QSYS plugin for both the IPX amplifiers and the MXE. So if you're looking for a little bit more of an enhanced piece of hardware there, like with MXE or IPX, it's not available through QSC, you can certainly do that and still operate within the QSYS environment, especially if that's what you're comfortable with, or if you already have that in place in your facility. So something to keep in mind after you do the initial configuration, load your loudspeaker settings, you can actually step right out and just operate everything in the QSYS environment. And we've done this successfully in a lot of large installations, from house of worship all the way up to stadiums. So don't be afraid to play in that environment if you want to. And with that, I think that's most of the pro audio stuff for EV and Dynacord. I'll hand it over to Greg to talk about RTS.
Great, thanks, Rob. As part of the Bosch Building Technologies portfolio family, Electro-Voice and Dynacord always seem to be the exciting, the audio, what's out in front of the audience, but we always seem to forget about what is creating the production, creating the event from happening out back. And that's where RTS intercoms comes into play. Whenever we need critical communications behind the scenes or backstage, we look to the leader in communications for that, and that is RTS intercoms. A lot of different venues that we do around the world include, of course, TV broadcast, arenas in sports situations. We have power plants and nuclear manufacturing plants that use our equipment. And then, of course, house of worship, wherever there's a production for a service, there needs to be communication behind the scenes to make sure that event comes off perfectly. And in some situations, we will broadcast the service elsewhere around the world, and this all needs backstage communication to make sure that happens. So in the RTS portfolio, we have a wide variety of products to make this happen. Really, everything revolves around a heart of the system, and we call it the matrix. Let's say it's a glorified audio router that is moving different channels of communication from one place to another. And the matrix RTS frames that we have, the Odin, the Atom, and the Atom M, are all different sized matrix systems that we build off of depending on how many communication lines you need in a system. So some of the biggest TV broadcast studios might use an Atom frame, and some of our smaller venues would use a product like the Odin, depending on the size of what you need. And when you hook up to this matrix system, we would use key panels that you see at the bottom here, different type of user stations where people are either sitting, they're standing near a wall. We would have something on a wall or maybe on a desktop. All of these have buttons or levers that you can push to talk to specific people on the matrix or different party lines of groups of people. And we have different varieties of those key panels. One of the flagship products that we've worked with over the years is our wireless communications. Coming off of the Electro-Voice and Telex wireless microphone technology for years, we incorporated that into wireless two-way communication product. And the picture that you see in the middle on the second row there is the BTR 800. That's a flagship wireless intercom system that's been used in all different applications for the past 25 years. About 5 years ago, we extended the UHF band and we went into the DEC platform, which is a 1.9 gigahertz part of the spectrum, with all of the UHF spectrum shrinking down. And this product is allowing us to have a key panel on our belt pack so that the person can walk completely free, almost having a full key panel right on their body and communicating with anyone on the matrix system. And then we have a classic wired setup where we would have a power supply and then we connect to belt packs. Very easy thinking of it, a daisy chaining them together with good old analog XLR cable. So this would be a basic type of analog setup, but we still offer this for very cost-effective solutions, which we'll get into in a second here. We'll show you some different solutions.
All right, thanks, Greg. I think with that, we'll move over into some application examples. Obviously, every venue is different, every church is different. So we want to make sure that we design the proper system, right for the main sanctuary here, but also for those folks that are actually helping run the service that might be using some of the RTS portions of the portfolio. So what we'll do here is we'll go through a couple examples and walk through them. So first we have maybe a smaller house of worship. This is probably one of the most common configurations we see with the EV and Dynacord portfolio. So for this system example, we have some EVF 1122D, so that's a 12-inch two-way front-loaded loudspeaker as mains. So we have a pair of those, supported with an EVF 2151 subwoofer. So it's a dual 15-inch subwoofer hung in the center there. And then for fills, we're using an EVU, which has a U bracket there, the 1082, and then we're using two EVC 1082s for delay. So that's an 8-inch two-way for delay. So obviously, these loudspeakers are designed to be mixed and matched together as a part of the EV Innovation portfolio. And this is a pretty common system configuration, all driven by some Dynacord amplifiers, certainly since we have the loudspeaker presets and we know our transducers quite well. It spends a lot less time tuning the system and of course, protection as well is something to keep in mind with loudspeaker settings. We're able to protect the loudspeakers from being damaged or harmed in any way throughout the service. So we've got one C3600 driving the mains. So that's part of our C-Series amplification portfolio. One C3600 for subwoofers, and then a C1800 for fills and delays.
So for a small venue on the communication side, we would have just a basic party line system. And what that means is everyone behind the scenes are talking on the same conversation, or they're talking on the same party line. So the example I mentioned a second ago was an analog power supply, and you would daisy chain belt packs together using standard copper XLR cable. What's really nice about 2021 is we now have a new digital party line system for the first time with RTS. And we're interconnecting everything with Ethercon IP cables, Ethernet cables, and it's fully digital. So our main station is called the Omnio Main Station, or OMS. It's based on the Dante audio platform, all digital over IP. And what's really nice is we can use our new digital belt pack to allow full digital audio, crystal clear through your headset for that conversation that the party line is having. And with the most basic setup, we can do 6 belt packs daisy chained together, or if we incorporate a power over Ethernet enabled switch that you see there on the diagram, we can put up to 40 belt packs on the party line. So while we start out with a very basic setup, maybe 4 or 5 belt packs, you can expand that as your venue needs expand just by adding more belt packs onto this IP Ethernet switch. It's a really nice small system to start with, and you can expand it from the very basic.
Perfect. Thanks, Greg. Let's move over to maybe a mid-size house of worship. So on the EV and Dynacord side, one of the most popular solutions we see is EVA. So that's our kind of our entry-level line array system. Certainly made sense for a venue of this size and the configuration we put together here. So for this example, we have 8 EVA 2082s. So those are dual 8-inch modules as a part of the line array, which you can see in the image here. So one of the nice things, like I mentioned, is that we have the ability, because of how the loudspeakers are designed, these different elements, is they're rated as 16 ohms. So we have the ability to put several of these on the same amplifier channel, and then add attenuation modules for shading at the bottom if we need to, right? So it's not super loud for the front row and then quiet in the back. So that way it's nice and even throughout the venue. In this example, we're actually driving the entire line array system with one two-channel amplifier, the C3600. And this is a very common configuration that we see, specifically for some mid-sized house of worship. And then, of course, we're adding some subwoofers here because maybe we want some LF extension, or maybe we have a worship service with a live band. We'll want to add some EVA 2151Ds for subs, and those are dual 15-inch subwoofers to add a little LF extension and provide a little more fullness to the audio requirements for the facility. So that's the EV and Dynacord portion.
So thanks, Rob. Let's take our small house of worship and expand it a little bit. So we have the same system that we had before, the OMS with the Ethernet switch, and then you see the digital belt packs up on top there with the headsets. Well, now we're going to add a wireless complement. Remember, I mentioned our new product we introduced about 4 or 5 years ago called Romeo. Now we can put access points connected to this Ethernet switch, which are antenna modules, maybe 3 or 4 of them throughout the venue. And then the TR-1800 belt packs are completely wireless key panel belt packs that are transmit and receiving from those access points. So if you can imagine, we have some wired belt pack users, maybe backstage or back of the venue. And then we have wireless camera operators, perhaps, or lighting people up on a catwalk. They would be on the Romeo belt packs, and a person at front of house or the producer would be using this key panel over to the left, the desk key panel, also plugged into the OMS. And now he can talk to either the wired belt packs, the wireless belt packs, or make an all call to everyone using his keys on that key panel. So it's a very nice incorporated system, all again based on that Omnio main station on the bottom, acting as the heart of the system. And you can see the products over to the right, how many pieces you would need of each to make this diagram system up.
Perfect. Thanks, Greg. Moving over to maybe a larger example here. So for a larger house of worship, we're probably looking at a bigger line array system. So for this example, we've chosen our flagship X-Line Advanced system, specifically X2. So we're using 24 X2, so that's 12 per side. And we are also adding some complementary subwoofers for LF extension, especially if we have a live band or performance there for on the music side. So adding some subwoofers is here as well. So we've got 8 subwoofers for an indoor venue like this. And then for amplification, we're using our IPX amplifiers. Certainly, they make the most sense to use with X-Line Advanced, considering some of the power requirements as well as the fidelity. So these amplifiers do operate at full 96K, and certainly we would want that for a system like this, especially with a venue of this size. And then we're driving the mains as well as the subwoofers with an IPX 20.4. And of course, one of the nice things with IPX as well is that it's fully Dante networked. So, it allows the IPX amplifiers to seamlessly operate with additional audio equipment. So for a larger venue, you're probably using a console, or maybe you're using some other systems there that you want to integrate via Dante. And this gives you the ability to do that. So here's the larger system example on the EV and Dynacord side. Let's take a look at what Greg's got for RTS.
So for a large house of worship, I always try to think of the large mega churches, as they call them. Basically, it's a TV studio. They are broadcasting on a weekly or more basis, and they're putting on an entire production, which really mirrors what's happening in a TV studio. So in this case, we've outgrown the OMS product, the Omnio main station. So we're looking at the Odin now, our entry-level matrix product. And with the Odin, we can hang and connect more key panels and more devices, Omnio Dante devices to it, than we could with the OMS. because we have more need for more stations and more people around the facility that need to talk to each other. And because we're using key panels now, we can dedicate each key on that panel to speak to a dedicated person in that venue. So we can get down to as specific as, I need to talk to belt pack cameraman on number 1, and you can hit a button and that person at the sound table, let's say, can speak to that cameraman on his wireless belt pack. And with the Matrix product, you can also use our technology called ARVON, which is RTS over network. So in a case where we have a venue broadcasting, they can simultaneously be broadcasting from another venue on that particular day who also has a Matrix system. And these two venues that could be across the country, they could actually be communicating with each other, putting on the entire production all together as if they were in the same building. So very good technology, very forward-thinking technology that you would be using with the Odin product as a Matrix, as the heart of the system of a very large house of worship in this situation.
Perfect. Thanks, Greg. Well, I think those are all the application examples we have, and certainly there are, every venue is different and every application is different. So with that, I'll pass it over to Zach to wrap us up here.
Great. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate you guys running through all those different applications. So one of the things that people frequently ask us about when we're running through our solutions is, what do you guys offer for design help? And we actually do offer free design services. We do have a system design questionnaire, which is available if you need to get your head. I believe it's, Rob, it is on our website, correct? Yeah, so it is on the website, or you can reach out to your Markertek representative to get your hands on that as well. So yeah, so if any of you need any type of help putting together, the speakers, amplifiers, the RTS system, we are more than willing to help you with that. We just need you to kind of give us, your contact information, give us a basic scope of the application. We would also need architectural drawings of the facility. That would be a great help. And we do have a design inbox there at the bottom, which you are free to email at your discretion. So that is something that's available and no extra cost to you. So. And then we do have a full training suite online at the Bosch Academy. We have trainings on all of our professional and commercial audio products. These are free of charge as well. You can go on and register for free, set up an account, and then you're free to do any of the online trainings that are currently posted on there. And some of these trainings even come with CTS credits as well. So that's a nice feature that we just added working with Avixa. And that is it for our presentation. Again, thank you all for joining us. And I believe we're going to open it up for questions now.
Yes, indeed. This is the opportunity. If anybody had any questions they wanted to pose to these gentlemen, please put it in the Q&A section. You beat me to the punch with the designing of the system, which is good. Certainly helps to have you guys on our side when we need to take care of a larger venue.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we've got a lot of options here, and it's tough to choose. So, we're super familiar with the products and portfolio here. So, it's pretty easy for us to give a recommendation and a proof of concept, to make sure that the system's going to perform the way that it's needed. So, there's a lot of options to choose from. So it's pretty easy for us to help narrow the selection down and give a couple choices.
Well, I don't see any questions. Must be a testament to the fine job you guys did doing the presentation here. Thank you all for joining us today, and thank you once again to Robert, Zach, and Greg. If you have any questions, certainly reach out to your Markertek salesman or check it out at markertek.com. Thanks, everybody, and enjoy your day.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.